crew, come on in, come on in, come on in. We have to talk. Day 2 is underway with the Diddy trial. Cassie testified today. We got so much we need to catch up on. If you're not familiar with me, my name is Aries Rose, and welcome to Aries Rose TV. Here we talk about movies, live streaming shows, TV shows, pop culture, celebrity news, politics, world news, basically anything I find interesting, I come on and discuss with my Aries crew. And you know the drill if you've been on a live before. If you are a returning Aries crew member, leave hashtag Aries crew in the comments. If you are a first-time watcher, leave first-time watcher in the comments. I want to give you a shout out for stopping by. So today's live is going to primarily be about day 1 and day 2 of the Diddy trial. But we're also going to talk about Tory Lanez. So he was stabbed 14 times and he's currently serving time in prison for his conviction that he had in the Megan Thee Stallion shooting. So we got to cover that. And then we're going to go into the testimony and some of the details that have come out about this Diddy trial. So stay tuned for all of this information because it's coming fast and furious. And this is going to be the spot where you're going to get your updates so you can stay on track with everything that's going on. We're going to take a pause for some comments. Mondarius, welcome. Thank you so much for being on. Appreciate you. And we're going to get started with our first story. Thank you so much for being a first-time watcher. I hope you're part of the Aries crew. It is free. All you got to do is hit that subscription button and hit that notification bell so you can find out every time I go live, post videos, post on the community page, post updates, and all that good stuff. And this is going to be reporting from TMZ about Tory Lanez. So it says shanked over a dozen times, both lungs collapsed. So let's get into these details because I was definitely shocked to see this flash across my notifications. Tory Lanez was hospitalized in critical condition Monday after an angry inmate savagely attacked him with a prison shank, stabbing him over a dozen times all over his body, with the rapper suffering collapsed lungs. Tory's team says he was stabbed 14 times, including 7 times in his back, 4 times in his torso, twice in the back of the head, and once in the left side of his face. If that is not a message, I don't know what is. That is crazy. 14 times being stabbed. So I don't know as of yet if this is a person that he got into an issue with or if this is motivated by something else. So let's see if it goes into that. Both of his lungs collapsed and Tory was placed on a breathing apparatus, though he is now breathing on his own according to his camp. Tory's rep says he is in pain, but is talking normally, in good spirits, and deeply thankful to God for surviving. And he's thanking everyone out there who is supporting him. Tory's attorney, Jose Baez, tells TMZ Tory is upbeat. He's in good spirits. He is recovering. He is a strong young man. He's expected to make a recovery, which is good. So it sounds like as of right now, his life is not in danger. As we reported, Tory was attacked at about 7:20 a.m. according to state corrections official by another inmate at the California Correctional Institution in Tehachapi. Tory was rushed by ambulance to an off-site hospital, then airlifted to Kern Medical Hospital due to the seriousness of his condition. So that just tells me it was pretty bad early on. And that makes complete sense considering all the places that he was stabbed and the number of times. So I'm glad at this point it does not appear to be fatal and he should be able to recover from it. Tory Lanez, whose legal name is Daystar Peterson, is serving time for shooting Megan Thee Stallion's feet in 2020 after a party at Kylie Jenner's house in the Hollywood Hills. He was convicted in 2022 and in 2023 he was sentenced to 10 years in prison. California Correctional Institution in Tehachapi, CCI, is located about 120 miles north of Los Angeles. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Are you just as surprised as I am? Do you think it was a random attack or it was motivated by something else? Let's keep that conversation going in the comments. And we're going to take a pause for some comments here. Is it Tashir? Thank you so much for the compliment. Appreciate you. Thank you for being on. And let's see, we got a little bit more information on the inmate that attacked Tory Lanez. So let's go into that reporting, also from TMZ. The guy who allegedly attacked and stabbed Tory Lanez in prison is serving a life sentence for a murder charge, and this wasn't his first violent incident behind bars. The California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation tells TMZ Tory was allegedly attacked by fellow inmate Santino Casio around 7:20 a.m. on Monday morning in a housing unit at California Correctional Institution in Tehachapi. We're told prison staff immediately responded, called 911, and started giving Tory medical aid before transporting him to the hospital for further treatment. Tory's camp says he was stabbed 14 times and suffered collapsed lungs. CDCR says 42-year-old Casio has been placed in restricted housing pending an investigation. We're told Casio was sentenced to life with the possibility of parole for second-degree murder, first-degree attempted murder, personal use of a dangerous or deadly weapon, and inflicting great bodily injury. So it sounds like this person has a long rap sheet themselves of reasons why they are currently behind bars. Let's see if it talks about how these two cross paths and if there's anything that may have triggered this particular incident to occur. And hold on, my microphone is going out. And let me know if you can hear me in the chat. Leave a 1 if you can hear me in the chat. Leave a 1. Leave a 1 if you can hear me in the chat. And we're going to keep it moving. All right, we're going to go back into the story here. Give me a second. I'm going to try back my microphone again. All right. That looks like it's not working right now, so we're just going to keep it moving here. And we're going to finish up on the story. Bear with me as I get that back up on my screen here. All right, while incarcerated, CDCR says that Casio was sentenced to 6 years for assaulting a prisoner with a deadly weapon or force likely to cause great bodily injury. We're told he was also sentenced to 2 years for possession/manufacture of a deadly weapon by a prisoner. Tory, whose legal name Daystar Peterson, is serving time for shooting Megan Thee Stallion's feet in 2020 after a party at Kylie Jenner's house in the Hollywood Hills. So let me know your thoughts on this. I think that's absolutely wild. 2025 has definitely been a year with things on the bingo card that I did not expect, and that is one of them. So let's keep that conversation going about Tory Lanez. We will be following updates that come out about that, so make sure you are subscribed to the channel so you can find out the latest as soon as we do. And now we got to get into the Diddy trial. So today was day 2 after opening statements, which started on Monday. So Monday, May 12th, they finished the jury selection. So the jury was not fully selected last Friday, which is what the judge, Submaranian, wanted to have done. And then the defense, I believe, argued that they were concerned if they picked a jury on Friday that those people may get cold feet over the weekend. So they wanted to hold off and select the jury on Monday. So that way there wasn't a chance that somebody may back out or really think about what it means to be a part of this and decide they don't want to be a part of it. So the jury was fully selected on Monday. And right after they were selected, they went right into the opening statement after the jury was sworn in. So opening statements started on day 1, and that testimony consisted of a former security guard for the Intercontinental Hotel, which is the hotel where the incident took place between Diddy and Cassie that was captured on video that CNN ended up showing on their network. It was the security guard who had responded to that, and this person had also taken a video of the video with their iPhone as well. So it was my understanding that some of that evidence was shown because Diddy's team was trying to argue that the CNN video had been manipulated and it wasn't the original video. So I guess that was shown based on the recording that this particular security guard did on their phone. So that was discussed, as well as Daniel Phillip, I believe is the name, and I'm going to double check that, was an escort that worked with Diddy and Cassie, and that person came and testified about what their experience was like, and that was partially done on Monday and finished up today. And then today today was the testimony by Cassie. So we're going to get into it to see what she discussed, and then we'll circle back to day one after the opening statements because there's so much to catch up on this case. So let's get into the first piece here. So many details were coming out. So let's talk about Cassie's testimony first. So this is reporting from TMZ. And it says Cassie is recalling her first freak off and she says substances, alcohol, and a bunch of baby oil were involved. And as you know, when the feds raided Diddy's homes, they found 1,000 or maybe over 1,000 bottles of baby oil. So he's clearly got a thing for baby oil here. She said Diddy brought up voyeurism at some point in their first year together, and she was 22 years old when she agreed to her first freak off, telling the jury she agreed because she wanted to make him happy. Cassie says the freak off happened at one of Diddy's homes in Los Angeles, where a male escort was paid to dance and have intercourse with her. She testified she took substances and drank alcohol before the freak off and said it was Diddy's idea to disguise himself, so she wore a masquerade mask. Last year's federal indictment against Diddy cites the freak-off parties, calling them, quote, elaborate and produced intercourse performances that Combs arranged, directed, and pleasured himself during, and often electronically recorded, end quote. So definitely have to do a trigger warning on this. This is a lot of adult and explicit content, so we're going to be trying to do some YouTube appropriate wording, so just work with me. We may not be able to use the direct words or say the direct substances that are mentioned on here, but we're trying to make sure we keep it appropriate for anybody who may come across this video here. Cassie said there were at least 2 sessions in the first freak off, and a session was over when the escort finished. That's what the testimony consisted of. She said she told the jury, she felt dirty and confused and knew Diddy was happy with her. She said she also felt like she couldn't say no to the freak off because she didn't want to make Diddy angry or upset after he shared this part of himself with her. So she felt compelled to participate in this. I'm not sure, just because he shared that part with her, why that made her feel compelled to be a part of this, but very interesting glimpse into their life and their dynamic. Something that you just can't fully tell when you're just seeing the pictures and the videos of them being out in places. So this kind of behind the scenes look at the relationship between these two is just completely fascinating to me. I wish I could be in this courtroom. Let me know in the comments, if you could be in the Diddy courtroom, would you be there and watch this trial happening live? Let me know that in the comments. And welcome, Victor. Thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate you taking the time to come on. And we're going to get back into this story. Cassie testified the freak-offs became more frequent, happening weekly for years. She says her last freak-off was in 2017 or 2018, and she never slept during the freak-offs and would take substances. She told the jury it was impossible to recall all the freak-offs, which makes sense to me because unless you have some kind of photographic memory here, you're not going to know exactly everything that happened and everything you may have done it with. The way she describes it, there were so many of them, I can understand why that would be hard to remember. And we're going to take a pause. We got a question. Victor Johnson, what are y'all talking about? We are talking about the Diddy trial and Cassie's testimony. We're reading off from some reporting from TMZ about what she testified today in court. getting a behind the scenes look at their relationship, kind of the dynamics and what things were like in there. And right now she's describing what it was like dealing with Diddy and these freak offs. And thank you so much, Victor, for being a part of the Aries crew. Appreciate that so much. Cassie testified she told Diddy she didn't want to participate in freak offs, gently broaching the subject with him because she didn't want to anger him, which I noticed was kind of a reoccurring theme. She wanted to make him happy. She wanted to keep him happy. She didn't want him to be angry. So it sounds like a lot of the decisions that were made was based on keeping his mood a certain way, because it sounds like when it didn't go that way, it was bad news bears for Cassie. Cassie testified about the supplies needed for freak-offs: Astroglide personal lubricant, condoms, and Johnson's baby oil. Specifically the Johnson's baby oil brand. I know they're probably like, don't tie me into this craziness. And let's see here. She said Diddy told her she needed to use baby oil so she would be glistening. And Cassie testified there was once a kiddie pool filled with baby oil during a freak off at a hotel, and she got into the pool at Diddy's request. Now, I understand different strokes for different folks. And, you know, as long as it's consenting adults, legal adults, you know, do your thing. But a baby pool full of baby oil just sounds crazy to me. A kiddie pool full of baby oil. Like, why? Why? That's not something that you swim in. To me, that's just kind of crazy to me. What do I know? This is clearly above my pay grade type stuff here. But I'm sure this is the kind of stuff they wanted to see in advance that the jury would be comfortable with. So some of that questioning, the juror questionnaire makes sense now with some of these details that have come out, because that's just crazy. She told the jury Diddy expected her to do freak offs on her period, even though she didn't want to. Wow. I'm just going to leave that right there, because I think it speaks for its heat on as it was, quote, disgusting and too much, end quote. She said she choked from having too much urine in her mouth, and, quote, no one could think I wanted it, end quote. She testified Diddy urinated on her, and she didn't want anyone to urinate on her, but it still happened often enough. That is wild to me. Yeah, that's another one. Different strokes for different folks. That to me just doesn't fit that environment. That's something you got to do in the bathroom to release that stuff out of your body, because clearly it's not supposed to be there. So I'm just going to chalk that up to everybody does something a little different in their bedroom, and that definitely fits under different for me. But it's sounding like Cassie was not into it. She said, or she was asked point blank why she didn't say no to being urinated on, and she responded, quote, it was obvious I didn't want to be on the ground being urinated on by two men, end quote. This is just crazy what was going on in this relationship, because I'm telling you, before she filed her lawsuit in November of 2023, if you would have asked me what it was like in the world between those two, none of this would have been anything I would have mentioned. Not a single thing that has been talked about or has occurred in their relationship. So I'm just completely shocked that this is what it was like for her. And especially since it was really her introduction to adulthood, because she met him when she was 19. So this is kind of what she knew right out of the gate. So clearly Diddy was into some other stuff. And what is just even more shocking for me is that his children were present for this testimony, and they heard what was said. And whether or not they believe it, I'm not going to get into that. I'm just going to say that's some wild stuff to hear about your parent. Most of the time, things that bedroom antics are not stuff you discuss with your kids, I would think. And that type of stuff is probably not stuff that's discussed. So I'm just wondering if they were embarrassed on the inside to hear that about their dad, or how he felt with having his kids present hearing this type of stuff. There's a part of me that's wondering if he talked to them about this in advance, knowing that it was probably going to lead to testimony coming up into a trial. Like, were there things he already told them to expect, and that's why they're not too concerned about being there and hearing it, or if they're all hearing this for the first time. I'm very curious to know, but I'm sure after all this trial is over and, we kind of get the stories of what was going on with this, we'll hear more about that piece, but we'll jump back into the story. Cassie also testified they found escorts for freak-offs by searching Craigslist, at least initially. For his part, Diddy's been staring at the jury during all of Cassie's testimony about urination, and his kids and family looked unfazed at the courthouse. Cassie testified she needed substances, that it mentions what those substances are. We're just going to leave that out. At every freak off, in order to disassociate and become emotionless to make it through, she told the jury Diddy took substances at the freak offs, and sometimes so did the male escort. She said she hated the freak offs and the drugs made her not want to be present with the experience, and the ecstasy and Molly sometimes made her vomit, though she added that Diddy would tell her to continue the freak off anyway. Cassie testified she did not want to continue having intercourse when she wanted to vomit, and that GHB made her feel drunk and tipsy, and that snow made her heart race, and that mushrooms made the walls come alive. She was asked what would happen after the escort finished on her, and she testified that Diddy would want it put on his body in the next room, and she would spread the escort's finish on Diddy's chest. She testified, or precisely his nipples. She testified she did not want to do so. Wow. That's that was not, I wasn't ready for that one. I don't know if I could be a juror on this trial. Just hearing this stuff without having the person in front of me testifying has just kind of got me like, what was going on up in here? I'm trying to listen and not judge. I want to leave that to the jury, but my mind is kind of swirling with like, what on earth was going on here? Like, I'm just wondering if he just got to that point in time in his life where nothing regular or seemingly normal pleasured him anymore, and it just needed to kind of keep upping the ante. I just don't think she was in the same place that he was, because she was more inexperienced when it came to that than him. So I think it was a little bit much for her, and I'm sure that was traumatizing for a young girl, and that being some of your early on experiences. Let's keep it going. All right, so we got some more. So this is also reporting from TMZ. So Cassie testified freak-offs became a job. She told the jury she had no time to do anything else but have a freak-off and then try to recover. She testified the longest freak-off lasted for 4 days. I'm going to tell you right now, if I never hear the word freak-off again, it would be too soon. I feel like since that word has been introduced with Cassie's initial lawsuit, November 2023, it's just like one of those things that might have sounded cool initially, but now I just associate it with such diabolical stuff. It's just crazy when I hear it now. And we're going to keep it going with the reporting here. The trial is now taking a break, which it was at the time that this was being reported. And she's testifying, Cassie's testifying about her history with Diddy. So she says he kissed her in the bathroom during her 21st birthday in 2007 in Las Vegas after she signed with his Bad Boy Records. And then they started seeing each other more and more. Let's see. Cassie told the jury she would visit Diddy at Trump Hotel in New York, and she would feel nervous and excited when Diddy would invite her to hotels, thinking they were going to talk about music. Instead, she says he introduced her to oral intercourse, and she, quote, didn't understand it, end quote. She testified she visited Diddy in Miami, and when asked what they did together, responded, intercourse. She also told the jury Diddy gave her substances on a boat. Cassie testified she thought things with Diddy were monogamous, and even though at the time he was publicly linked to Kim Porter, when asked how Diddy was treating her in the beginning, she said they had fun. Cassie Ventura took the stand and squarely addressed both the beating video and her involvement in freak-offs. She said the 2016 beating at the hands of Diddy occurred right on the heels of a freak-off. She has not addressed more about the beating. Rather, she began talking about the freak-offs. Cassie said she was the subject of a freak-off. Cassie said when the subject of a freak-off, which she said was hiring of an escort to have intercourse with her, came up, she was, quote, confused, nervous, and I wanted to make him happy, end quote. The prosecutor asked if she agreed to a freak-off when Diddy first proposed it, and she said she did, but they continued. She testified, then there were more. It wasn't, quote, then there was more. It wasn't something I wanted to do, at least not that frequently, end quote. She said she feared saying no would have consequences, namely making Diddy angry. She said she was also afraid he would blackmail her. Prosecutors said in their opening statement, Diddy threatened to release the freak-off videos if she did not participate. She also set up what appears to be a move by prosecutors to show video of freak-off to the jury. She said what evidence she gave to the government. She was asked what evidence she gave to the government, and she replied, laptops, presumably, which stored freak-off videos. Cassie testified she was with Diddy for 10 years, and they would get into arguments that resulted in violence, telling her he would drag her, stomp her in the head if she was down. She testifies the violence was too frequent, and she would get black eyes and bruises. Diddy looked Cassie up and down as she walked into the courtroom to take the witness stand, following her every move. She didn't make any eye contact with Diddy, and it's my understanding they haven't seen each other since 2018. And I don't know when she filed her lawsuit in 2023 if when they were doing the settlement talks, her or Diddy were involved in that, or if it was just between the lawyers. But from what I was hearing, this is the first time she had seen him in person since about 2018. So I'm sure for the two of them, it was kind of a little bit jarring, especially considering the circumstances and everything that's occurred since she's filed her lawsuit. And let's see, Cassie's wearing a brown top with sleeves, and early on her testimony, she seemed emotional, her voice trembling as she talked about the freak-off, and her voice quivering as she talked about loving Diddy. Diddy's family sit in the gallery showing no emotion. They didn't even flinch when his late ex Kim Porter was mentioned. They seemed happy during breaks in testimony, laughing and patting each other on the back, almost as if they were at a family function. Cassie's got a support group too, including her husband, Alex Fine, her attorney, Douglas Wigdor, and her brother, all seated in the second row of the gallery. Let me know what you think of the testimony so far that Cassie has shared about what her life was like with Diddy and these freak-offs. I know I'm clutching my invisible pearls. I am shocked. I knew this case was going to be discussing some wild things, but this so far is more than I would have expected it to be. I thought a lot of stuff that was just being said was just kind of hype, but it sounds like there was some truth to the things that was going on. Let's see here. All right, this is also reporting from TMZ. One of Sean Diddy Combs' freak-off videos showing himself and Cassie Ventura will be played in court despite the objections of Cassie's attorney. That's crazy. Prosecutor and Diddy's attorneys went back and forth with Judge Arun Subramanian Tuesday morning about how the video would be played in court. Cassie and Diddy's defense team don't want the audio or video getting out to the public, so prosecutors proposed it only be played for jurors who will wear headphones. People seated in the gallery, including reporters, would not be able to see or hear the video. Prosecutors said they will enter the video into evidence this afternoon, so expect fireworks because Cassie's also expected to begin her testimony. The defense also revealed this morning they want to raise the issue of Cassie's bar fight, one that did not involve Diddy. Prosecutors argue it was irrelevant, but the judge agreed with the defense that it's relevant because the incident involved alleged substance use by Cassie. According to Diddy's attorney, Tinny Garagos, Cassie was visiting family in Connecticut, and Diddy suspected she was cheating on him because she wouldn't answer her phone. Cassie was apparently in a bar and got into a brawl where she, quote, tried to kill someone, end quote. At least that's how Garagos described it to the judge. The defense says the incident shows Cassie was using substances outside of her actual relationship with Diddy, poking holes in the theory she only took substances during freak-offs because he forced her. So, very interesting, the stuff that's coming out and how both sides are trying to paint each other. And we're going to go through one more story here. All right, so this is about the first day, day one, which was Monday, May 12th testimony. The first day of witness testimony in Diddy's ex-trafficking trial is in the books, and TMZ is recapping all the notable moments from a busy day in court, and indeed it has been busy in the court. After the full jury pool for the federal criminal trial was selected Monday morning, 12 jurors and 6 alternates, the prosecution came out swinging in their opening statement, claiming Diddy made an ex-worker urinate in Cassie's mouth during a freak-off ex-party. The feds alleged Diddy forced Cassie and another woman to participate in freak-offs with male ex-workers, and they also claimed Diddy got violent with a woman and actually assaulted his former assistant. So it sounds like there's some extra going on with Diddy for sure, at least according to this testimony. Diddy's defense argued that the ex was totally consensual and the relationships were voluntary and beneficial for the women, telling jurors not to judge him for his actual preferences. The first witness was a security guard from the Los Angeles hotel where Diddy was seen on surveillance video beating Cassie, and that's the one that was released by CNN last year that probably the whole world saw. And he testified that Diddy tried to bribe him to keep quiet, though Diddy's defense countered that Diddy was only offering money because a vase was broken in the incident. The second witness was a male ex-worker who says Diddy directed the freak-offs and pleasured himself while watching him have sex with Cassie, who paid for his services. He testified Diddy told him to urinate in Cassie's mouth and says Diddy once got upset by a lack of baby oil being used. So he's got a thing for baby oil. His testimony will continue tomorrow, which was today, and it did continue today. And Cassie's expected to take the stand as the trial moves forward, which she did today. Diddy's $3 left the courtroom when the male ex-worker gave his graphic testimony. And during a break, they were spotted chatting it up with Diddy's mom, Janice Combs, and eating chips. Diddy had a holy Bible with him and read some scriptures. And this is the time, if you're ever going to be close to God in your life, this is the time. Because some of these things I'm hearing about, there's some prayer that definitely needs to be done for sure. He had a blank stare and was stoic during opening arguments. The Bad Boy Records founders charged with 5 federal counts, 2 charges of ex-trafficking, 2 charges of transportation to engage in prostitution, and a single count of racketeering conspiracy. He's pled not guilty, and his legal team says he's a swinger, not a criminal. So we're definitely going to be following this trial and all the testimony that comes out. Make sure you are following the channel if you have not already done so. We'd love to have you a part of the Aries crew. It is free to join. All you got to do is hit that subscription button and hit that notification bell so you can find out every time I go live, post videos, post reels, and all that good stuff on the channel. Let me know if you have a birthday this month in May. We want to give you a shout out. It's always a blessing to have one more year around the sun, and we definitely want to celebrate and acknowledge that for you. If you have not already done so, let me know if you're a part of the Aries crew by saying hashtag Aries crew in the comments. I want to give you a shout out for being on the live, or let me know if you're a first time watcher. Leave first time watcher. I'm going to give you a shout out for stopping by as well. Please like the video. It's a free way to support the channel. Share this live out with family and friends. We're trying to get to 1,800 subscribers by June. So any assistance is greatly appreciated. It means the world to us. Stay tuned. We will be back with, I might do a late night live tonight just to go over some more stories about it, because there's so much that has come out about this trial that we just got to unpack. So I might do another one tonight, but if not, we'll definitely be back on live tomorrow for our weeknight show. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate all the support. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you later.